direction, it is every bit as much as fascinating as is looking out into the heavens in that. We're going to deal not in light years, but we're going to deal in millimeters, micrometers, and nanometers. Now, they're all based upon the meter, and we don't use meters that much in this country, and that they used in Europe for a long time in that. But a meter is slightly longer than a yard, and it's 39.36 inches to be exact. So all of these measurements are based upon a meter. A millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. A micrometer or micrometer, depending how you want to say it, is 1/1,000,000th of a meter. And for you carpenters out there, there are 25,400 micrometers in an inch. Jeez. If you want to get that precise in your... It doesn't go that deep in that, okay?
My carpenters use micrometers to measure, and then they use a chainsaw to cut it.
Chainsaw to cut it. There you go. A nanometer is, get this, 1/1000,000th of a meter. Now, and I'm going to pass this around. You can just, this is show and tell. And you pass them around and that. And pass them back. That is an acupuncture needle. Okay? And an acupuncture needle this size is 0.1/16 or 16th, 0.16 of a millimeter. In comparison, a grain of sand is about 60 micrometers in diameter. Grain of sand. A dust particle is about 5 micrometers in diameter. By the way, that needle, we're talking about the tip of the needle there, okay? A dust particle is about 5 micrometers in diameter. A strand of hair is about 70 to 100 micrometers in diameter, okay? Does God have a hand in all of this? Well, we know the answer to that. Of course he does in that. Luke chapter 12, verses 6 and 7. The writer, Luke, says, "Are not 5 sparrows selling for 2 pence? And not one of them is forgotten in God's sight. But even the hairs on your head have all been numbered. Then do not fear, you are of more consequence than many sparrows." We generally have about 100,000 to 150,000 hairs in our head, and they are all numbered. Some of us have more, and some of us have less. And I see some of you out there who are on the less side. Okay?
I made up for it.
You made up for it in your facial hair now. All right, getting even smaller. A hydrogen atom is about 10 nanometers wide. Now remember what a nanometer is, 1/1000,000th of a meter. The width of the DNA double helix, and you've all seen pictures of them, all right? It's like a ladder that's been twisted in that. That's the double helix, DNA double helix. It contains all of our genetic code, all right? That is about 2 nanometers wide. Okay? If you would take the length of the DNA double helix in one cell of your body, it would stretch out to 6 feet. Now, take a guess how many cells. Now remember, each cell has your complete DNA genetic code. How many cells do you have in your body? Take a guess. No. You have
186,000.
no. You have about 37 trillion cells in your body, and each cell contains the DNA code or genetic code of your body. So if we were to stretch each double helix that is in each cell of your body, and we were to take all those cells and stretch that double helix end to end of all the cells in your body, you could take a trip to the sun and back, wait for it, 400 times. Of course, that all happened by accident and chance.
Of course.
Okay?
Makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense. Okay? The body is a unique and wonderful piece of machinery. Isaiah 44 and verse 24 and 25. Thus says Yahweh, your Redeemer, and your former from the belly. I am Yahweh, maker of all, stretching out the heavens by myself, stamping out the earth. And who was with me? Who was with God when he created this? No one, just himself. There's no triune God. There's no Trinity or anything like that. Annulling the signs of deceiving inventors. Who would that sound like? He is making divine rave, causing the wise to turn backward. He is making their knowledge look silly. Psalms chapter 139 and verse 14 and 16 through 16, I guess. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth well. Your eyes saw my embryo and my days. All of them were written upon your scroll. The days were formed when there was not one of them. Now, I don't think David was just simply an isolated example that God said, well, I'm going to number his days and write his story out. The rest of you just do the best you can. He wrote every one of our days out before we were. Before we happened upon this earth, he wrote them out. By the way, we talked somewhere about free will today. Someone mentioned it. I don't know, maybe I did. I don't know. I did? Okay.
I mean, someone did mention it.
I did, yeah, okay. Free will is another myth of humanity, and particularly strong in the religious circles. Because we've got to have some control over our life. We've got to have some decision making. And I ask you, I'm not asking you to answer me, I'm asking you to answer in your own heart. Did you choose to be born?
No.
Did you choose when in history you were going to be born? No. Did you choose who your parents would be? Did you choose your sex? As far as I know, there are still only two. Did you choose who your siblings would be? Did you choose your physical makeup? Did you choose where you were going to be born? You had no choice in that whatsoever. So why would you think that you had choice anywhere else? I'm talking free will choice. Free will is the ability to make a decision unencumbered by any internal or external influences. And only one has that.
Yes.
God.
Yes.
You have a will, but your will, the decisions you make are based upon who you are. Okay? When I was 10 years old, I wanted to grow up and play for the Boston Celtics of the NBA. I don't think so, Mark. I still got time. I don't think so. Okay?
You can always use a new ball.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're looking in the minute. All right. Get back on track. This is a bacteria cell. Okay. Bacteria run from 0.5 to 5 micrometers in length. Okay. And they're all different bacterial cells all over the place. But these things that are stretching out from them are called flagella. And flagella acts just like a propeller. It enables the bacteria to move from one place to another in the medium in which it is operating in. And some have a lot of flagella, some only have one. It just depends on what the bacteria is. Now, the flagella, which is used to propel the bacteria, they're about 20 micrometers or micrometers long. And they're about 12 to 30 nanometers in diameter. Now, remember what we say a nanometer was? 1 billionth of a meter. Okay? Give me another picture. Flagella.
Sorry.
Come on.
I was getting my head.
Okay. Now, this is an artist rendering of the inside of the flagella. Here is the flagella. There is a filament that goes out. This is inside. You mechanics in here, just looking at this, what does it remind you of?
A valve.
Generator.
A generator? What else? What else? Come on, I'm counting on you.
An airplane. An engine.
At what kind of an engine?
Oh.
Airplane.
A what? Pat yourself on the back, young man. A jet. The first time I saw a rendering of this, it reminded me of a jet engine.
Yeah.
You know how these things operate? There are positive and negative ions that are passing through the orifices here. And what that does is it, like an electric motor, it turns. Because the positive and negative ions turns this motor. And I've heard anywhere from 18,000 to 100,000 RPM. It just happened? Come on. If you believe this is a result of evolution, you are so steeped in your religion of science and evolution, you couldn't see the forest for the trees.
Mark, is this the one that Anthony Flew saw that turned him into a...
I don't know. They have numerous renderings of flagella. Pick up another one of those. Here is these are stators. Sound familiar?
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing.
There is the filament, the tip, and all this, and all of these things. Stator veins. You know what a stator? I'm not asking you. You know what a stator vein is? A stator vein simply is a reflection of what it's called. It's a stationary vein. When a jet engine is operating, wind goes through the jet engine, and there are turbine blades that turn around, and they suck the air in. And between each stage of the blades that turn, there are stator vanes. And that enables that air to go in and to impinge the next set of blades at the proper angle to compress the air until it finally gets it into the combustion chamber. Okay? Well, this in a similar manner enables the motor to turn the filament to propel the bacteria. Okay? So if God can fling the stars out in this incomparable universe that we have and create all those stars, 1 septillion of them, he has the ability to do, and then he has the ability to turn around and make something so tiny and make it operate, because mankind thinks he's so smart that he discovered combustion engines and things, so on and so forth. And God had this a long time ago. If this filament is 12 to 30 nanometers wide, how wide is this part? God just created it. So if he can do that, and he can do that, tell me, what can't he do?
Our friend Dean would say, God's showing off.
He's showing off. And you know what? He's the only one who really has, I don't want to say the ability, the right, the justification to show off. Okay? So, if he can do that, do you think our measly stubbornness and our sinfulness is going to prevent him from doing what he is going to do and what he can do? Say, there you come back in that old free will thing. I'm the Lord of my own life. I'm going to make the decisions. I sound like Richard Nixon, don't I? Okay. God programmed that stubbornness. In fact, he says in Galatians chapter 3, in Romans chapter 11, verse 32, for God locks up altogether in stubbornness. There's a synonym for the word stubbornness, and that synonym is unpersuadableness. And God locks everyone, not just a few. He locks everyone. That same Greek word that is used there for stubbornness is used in Luke chapter 5, I think verses 5 and 6, where Jesus is out, the disciples were out and they were fishing and they couldn't catch anything that night. And Jesus comes out and says, throw your nets over again. Lord, we've been out here all night. We haven't caught anything. Throw your nets over again. So they throw their nets over, and what happened? They had this multitude of fishes that they pulled up that were breaking the nets. There were so many fishes, all right? That same word that is used to translated stubbornness, and what was the word that Luke used in that? Anyways, the idea is you're a fishy in the middle of that net. And what can you do? Nothing. You are caught there. You can't turn left, you can't turn right, you can't go up, you can't go back. You're just stuck there. And you have that fish has no power. Well, that's the way we are before God gives those who he deems to give light and faith. Because all of us are locked up in stubbornness. Galatians chapter 3 verse 22 says, but the scripture locks up all together under sin. Well, if God did that, and he locks us up all together, is sin our fault? Who is responsible for the sin in our life? God is. Who is accountable for that? God is. He's accountable for all of that. Why does he do that? So that he can demonstrate that he can be and will be merciful to all. Everybody's going to get it, but not at the same time. And I'm here to say right now, you better thank God tonight and tomorrow and this afternoon and the next day and so on that you are here right now, this Saturday morning, in this motel, listening to this information. Because, and this is not being bragging or anything like this, you're not going to hear this tomorrow morning at any of the churches around here or anywhere else. You are privileged. God has privileged you to hear this. And not me. Hear the word. Does God have any limitations? Job chapter 11, verses 7 through 11 says, can you find out the fathoming of Eloah, or God? Could you find out the perfection of him who suffices? These are loftier than the heavens. What can you contrive? Deeper than the unseen. What can you know? Its measure is longer than the earth and wider than the sea. If he should pass by or lock up or call an assembly, who could turn him back? Do you really think that God is so incompetent that he's not going to provide for everyone's salvation? I can create that. I can create 1 septillion of stars in the universe. I can do that, but boy, oh boy, you're just too rebellious and I can't do anything about it. I walked into that one. If you think you have control over it, you have fallen for the strategy of the adversary. Okay? You see, it all comes down to your paradigm. That word paradigm is a fancy word for what is your context of God. How do you see God? Is he the tyrant that Clyde was mentioning about in the comparison? The God of Jonathan Edwards of the Puritan stock? God is angry. He's mad at everybody. He wants to see everybody burn in hell. But Jesus is he'll go in between and kind of, be the buffer. God operates in the absolute or the objective. He knows the end from the beginning. He knows it all. We operate in the subjective or the relative. Let's go out and let's go have a picnic today. Get the picnic basket up and we get all ready to go and we walk out and all of a sudden We hear thunder in the distance. You say, we better check this out. And so we look at the weather, and there's this large line of thunderstorms coming running through. And so the normal person would say, probably ought not to go out for a picnic today. Now, the crazy person would say, well, let's go on a picnic anyhow. So why would that person go on the picnic? Because everything that they had in their life led them up to that point to make that decision. They're nuts to begin with. No, just, I don't. If you are called and given faith, you're a member of the church, which is his body. And you're going to have a destiny that's beyond compare. And this is one truth that just really meant a lot to me. And I mentioned it first session. We are the complement of Jesus Christ. And by that, we become the Christ. And Jesus Christ, the Christ, is the complement of God. And I mentioned this. God is not complete now because everything that came out of him has not yet come back to him. Romans 11:36, seeing that out of him and through him and for him is all. What does that include? All.
Wow.
Yeah. All. God created this. You got another one of those pictures of the Jean? Here's another picture. All right. Now, I understand this is an artist rendering, but look how intricate that is. If this hook, which leads to the filament, is 30 or 50 nanometers wide, now how big is one of these pieces?
And if one little piece isn't there, then the whole.
Yes. 1 Corinthians 15:28, that God may be all in all. God has everything planned out to the minutest detail, whether it's in outer space, whether it's in a bacteria, whether it's in your life or your body or your thought, everything is planned out. And he is working that in your life. And he gives us sin in the world, and he gives us evil in the world so that we would understand the contrast. That's how God teaches us, in contrast. If I live in Minnesota or Upper Michigan or Wisconsin, and it's in the middle of January, and it's 10 below, and I walk into the house, and Mama's got a roaring fire going on, and I sit down by that fire and go, oh, this is heavenly. Okay? But if I live in Miami, Florida, and they happen to have a fireplace in the home because it's decorative, and I come in from the outside in the middle of summer, and Mama's got a fire going on, you go, why? Which one is the contrast? Which scenario do you appreciate the fire more? If you live in Minnesota in the middle of January and it's 10 below and there's a fire going on. God gives us contrast in our life. He does that so we will learn and appreciate Him. He's given us unusual insight as members of the church, which is His body, to understand that contrast and to appreciate Him. He's got everything planned out. So why should we worry about anything? If you worry, you're questioning God's wisdom. If you're worrying, you're questioning God's wisdom. Thank you very much.